Hello, vac fans, especially those who use carpet washers. So, Hoover, and Hoover. Although this one doesn't say, this recovery tank actually doesn't say Hoover, but it's a Hoover smartwash. So, very old, much newer, actually fairly new, and I think they still sell this. Anyway, I want to figure out a way, if it's even possible, to go and see which one of these machines that's attached to these recovery tanks is able to extract the most water out of your carpet, thus having it dry as quickly as possible. So the challenge at the moment is going to be twofold. Number one, how much water do you put down in the carpet? And I think I've decided that if all of these machines in their supply tanks can, say, supply up to 100 ounces of water or so. And by the way, 1 ounce is about, I think, 28.3 grams. So you can convert it for my European friends watching over there. So something, say, around a gallon in the supply tanks. These are the recovery tanks. These aren't the supply tanks. And if you were to clean a carpet that would be about, say, 120 some odd square feet, and you had around 120 some odd ounces, that would be about 1 ounce per, say, square foot or so of carpet. So to be reasonable, if I could get close to about 1 ounce of water put down in the carpet or remaining in the carpet to pick up per, say, square foot, I would like to find out which one of these machines, especially over a huge time range of, a couple of decades, picks this water up. And again, as I mentioned before, it's wonderful to have a machine that puts a bunch of water down, scrubs it in, and cleans very well. But then what do? You need to be able to extract the water from the carpet and get it into the recovery bin so your carpet then dries. You don't want to leave your carpet wet or soapy. So the problem is with these recovery tanks, I need to figure out if there is a way I can accurately measure them. Now, this is my heavy scale, and by that I mean I can measure up to, say, seven some odd pounds. What is it? Is it 3,000? Yeah, 3,000 grams, so 3 kilograms, many, many pounds, and it's good to 0.1 grams. So let's see if I can. This should be pretty easy. The recovery tank on the smartwash is flat, so I think I'm not going to have trouble measuring this. So if we need to measure, like, how many ounces or fraction of an ounce, yeah, we can do that. Okay, so the empty recovery bin, such as it is, water receptacles 843.8. You probably can't see that, but that's actually going to be pretty easy to measure. Okay, that's great. So this has a flat bottom. So this other Hoover right here, oh, this also has a fairly flat bottom. And I think I can, now it's going to be a little unbalanced because there's a lot more weight in the front and the back. So I'm going to have to, in order to keep it from tilting and screwing up the scale, I will probably have to set it a little further back than normal, although you probably won't see it. Okay, so this seems to be stable and level, and I'm at an empty recovery bin weight of 1,133.7 grams. All right, yep, resets to 0. Okay, so these two were good. Now this one doesn't have a flat bottom. And I tried for a little bit to kind of make something to kind of fit in there to make it flat, and I couldn't do that quickly. But this is a mess. But you know what is flat, and this is going to seem kind of weird, is the top. So specifically across these two joints right here. So I can turn this upside down and get a face it forwards, although it doesn't really matter a whole lot. Yeah, there's a lot of weight here. I think I probably would do it this way. I want to try to get it level. Now, I know you're not going to be able to see this because I can't see it. All right, now I can, but I mean, you don't have a chance of seeing that. So this actually looks, yeah, all right, this looks level and stable. And I have an empty recovery bin weight of 1275.3 grams. Now you're going to say, Vac Lab, you have lost your mind. How are you going to possibly measure this thing upside down? Well, guess what? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. So if I open this up, turns out this actually has, what's left of it, a real seal. See that black little rubber thing all the way around the side there? And you know what? It doesn't have any breaks in it. So if we get lucky, maybe we will, and maybe we won't. This is the first time I'm going to be doing this test. This literally has some pressure by this handle to squeeze the seal to the plastic bin bottom. So if I'm able to, and we'll find out soon enough, if I'm able to use this to recover as much water as possible, and I can flip it upside down and it doesn't leak, we'll have a good test. Now, obviously, if it starts to leak, you're gonna see it because it's gonna start dripping everywhere. But I think there's enough space in these little, I guess, receptacles in here. It has one here, here. Well, that's not really so much a receptacle, but I think there's enough space in this lid right here. See, I can put my fingers in. This ought to be able to hold any water fairly well. So it might not even matter if we have this seal be in that good a shape. So I'm taking a long time to actually show you this in the first part of the video in order to show you some of the challenges you may have. Now, you know what I can do, but I don't have one just yet. I could get one of those hanging or luggage scales, and you know, it has like a hook, or you could put a loop of like wire or string on or something, and frankly just have them hang, and that would be a much easier way to measure these things because they will self-level and nothing's going to drip. But I don't have one of those. I think I'm going to order one though. So if and when I get that in, maybe we'll go ahead and measure these things a different way. But this is what I have so far for today, and as long as that one doesn't leak, we should be good to actually measure these. So yeah, I know that was kind of a long, boring intro, but this is the first test of its type that I've done here. So I just want to show you the challenges that I have. My wife had these little funnel cake food dispensers. You know, you pour this stuff out and cook it up and makes the funnel cakes. And she had two of these. So on one of them, I went and poked a couple of holes in there. Might be a little hard to see, but there's actually two holes. One's got a drip of water in it, I suppose. And the other one is going to be my supply container. So I decided to just keep everything in grams rather than flip back and forth between ounces and grams. So 3 ounces is 85.05 grams. So I'm only going to show you this once, and it's going to be really difficult to get exactly 85.05 grams, but I will go and write down what the initial amount is anyway, so it takes any errors into account. So I'll just show you this once. Let's see how close I can get. Coming up pretty quick. It's amazing how little water 3 ounces is. Ooh, almost 84. Can we do it? Come on. Oh, that's so close. Do I dare? A few more drips. Oh, that's going to be too much. Okay, that's not that far off percentage-wise, but what I will do is go back and forth until I get this as close as possible to 85.05, and then I'll go ahead and write down the initial value. So for round number 1, with a little bit of fiddling, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, 85.15 grams. So it's slightly off of the target 85.05. Now before I run this, I'm going to start out with my oldest 1999 Hoover Steamvac Widepath. You know there are going to be some issues with, there's going to be water that's going to be stuck in here. There's going to be water that's going to be stuck somewhere else in the piping. I mean, somewhere throughout the system. So not everything is going to make it into the recovery tank. And then, of course, for that one, we have to flip the recovery tank upside down. And that's going to provide additional challenges. But let's give it a whirl. Now, this is going to be so weird. When was the last time you saw somebody wet their carpet? I mean, for a test. All right, here we go. Come on, water. Here we go. You probably can't see it, but it's coming out. I'm going to have to rub it in with my hand. I know it doesn't seem like I'm actually doing anything, but I'm trying to dribble it as precisely as possible. I'm going to do, by the way, 2 full cycles. So that's going to be 4 full touches to the carpet. And I am going to rub it in. I'm just trying to sprinkle it and be as even as possible. So I'm only going to show you this, the long version here once, because, man, it just even gets boring for me. I guess I could make my holes a little bit bigger, but I do like the ability to have control over the wetting process, to be sure. Okay, so you might not be able to see it, but yep, that's about it. Might be like one more drop in there somewhere. Okay, that's it. Now I'm going to rub it into the carpet. Okay, that's going to be good enough. And the carpet is definitely wet. You can see my hand is wet. And you know what? I'm going to dry my hand on this part of the carpet. There. Okay, so I got my hand pretty dry. Now you probably can't see where the carpet's wet, but I can. Very difficult test. Okay. Oh, and yes, this motor needs bearings. That's for sure. It definitely needs that. So you know what? Let's pull this out. And yep, you can see the water go in, and it's definitely there. So now I'm going to have to figure out a way to flip this over, and hopefully it doesn't leak. I know you're not going to be able to see it very well, but I'm hoping this thing doesn't drip, because then that's going to be real disappointing. Okay, so I'm try to flip this thing upside down, and well, let's see what happens. All right, here we go. There's water in there, all right. All right, so far I'm not detecting a drip anywhere, and we have a final weight of 1326.8 grams, and now I will subtract the initial amount of 1275.3. So I got 51.5 grams out of 85.15. So now I'll divide that. So we have a pickup. I'll multiply that and move it over to make it look a little nicer. We have a pickup of about 60.5%, about 60.5%. Now that makes it into this bin. So that means there's 40% of it that didn't make it into this bin. It might have made it elsewhere, but it didn't make it into the recovery tank. So remember this little gauge right here? Moisture meter. All right, so let's see. You're probably not going to be able to see this because of glare, but what percentage moisture does it have? I'm dragging it through. Okay, it says 16%, 17%. Yeah, right around in there. It just flipped up. So about 16, 17% or so. And for the second round, we have 85.17. I'll call it at 85.17 grams. Oh, you really hear the airflow, don't you? Okay, so this has to be released like that. Here's the recovery tank. Yep, I can see some in there. The question is, how much? Let's find out. In case you were wondering, I do dry out the inside of the funnel cake pitcher. So we start out clean and dry every time. Okay, we end up with 1164.1, and I'll subtract that from 1133.7, which gives us a pickup of 30.4 grams. Now that's out of an initial 85.17. You see we have 35.7 or so. So let me move that, make it look a little nicer. So 35.7% pickup. Hey, I think we're finding meaningful differences. Moisture meter time. I know it's kind of hard to see. Looks like maybe mid-20s, kind of bouncing around a bit. Yeah, I'm going to say probably like 25 or so. I had various numbers, a little higher, a little lower, so I'll say about 25%. Last water fill, I'll call it at 85.1615. I got to call it something. I'll call it 85.16. Dry only is pushed. And the dry light is on. All right, let's see what it managed to pick up. So what did the Smart Wash do? Good or bad? All right, let me get that balanced and stable. And I see 885.7. I'll call it 885.7 minus 843.8.
for a total pickup of 41.9 out of 85.16. And we have 49.2%. Let me move that a bit so it looks a little nicer. 49.2%. So that's a bit different than the Spin Scrub 50, isn't it? All right, let me take a look at my meter. I know it's hard to see. It's hard to see for me. Yeah, about 21 or so before it goes off. How about we just round the final results to the nearest whole number? Coming in at third place, what I believe is, I think the cheapest machine is the middle Turbo Scrub Spin Scrub 50 with a overall pickup of 36% and the moisture meter reading of about 25%. Coming in second place is the newest machine I have, which is the Smart Wash, and that came in at 49% pickup with a moisture meter, remember lower is better, of 21%. And yep, older is better. In first place, the Hoover Steamvac Widepath. It was a real Hoover manufactured toward the end of 1999. I picked it up sometime in 2000, so I've had it for 22 years. A whopping 61% pickup and a moisture meter score of, we'll say, 17%. So that is very meaningful, and because I had not one but two ways to verify the results, I'm happy enough with those results. I don't care if they vary around just a tiny little bit, but that's enough variance that I can definitely declare that is the winner, and the cheapie in the middle is definitely the loser. So, hey, thanks for watching. I know this is kind of an odd test. I don't know when you're ever going to see a test like this again until I get maybe 3 more carpet washer machines or something like that comes my way. So, enjoy and happy vacuuming. Or maybe I should say, happy extracting.